Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. You are looking at the 1997 Honda Fourtrax 300 4x4 and we're going to see if this thing is just a pile of parts or if I could do something with it. So I paid $550 for it, and you know, we always start in the same place. Is this thing going to roll? Right now these two tires on this side are flat, the other side are actually holding air. So let's fill these up. So, 3 of the 4 tires seem to hold air, 1 not so much. Okay, here's the hole. Kind of like a whale, eh? So I hit the leak with the Slimalicious there, and it's still leaking a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that that leaky part is on the bottom so the slime keeps pouring into it, and hopefully eventually some of the chunks and bits in the slime seal it on up. They just look so much better when there's air in the tires, huh? Just a trick I marked. I think you guys can see that line. That's where the hole is. So you make sure the hole is down so that the slime plugs it up. And now we should start picking up some speed. Let's check the oil. Ooh, French roast. Texas crude. i.e. does need to be changed. I pulled the spark plug out. It doesn't look horrible, at least it's not rusty. And now let's turn it over a couple of times completely, because you want to kind of move some oil around, and you want to make sure you don't hear any clanging and banging. And all that is good. Next up, we're going to install the battery. That's some nasty stuff in there. Anyway, let me put the jump pack on it and see if this thing comes alive. It did come with the key and all. Jump pack is installed and turned on, and we got the red to the red and the black to the black, though we got some extra trivia here that I don't really want to mess with at the moment. Key is on, and we got a whole load of nothing here. So the electrical system needs some love. It looks more or less intact, right? I see fuse holders there, but I see a lot of loose wires, given that they have this winch and this these broken tractor trailer backup lights here. I think I'm gonna try the starter directly. Let's see what we get. So I'm lucky on this engine. The starting solenoid is right up there, and if you just so it doesn't sound too horrible. I don't know if this jump pack has enough juice in it to do a compression test, but we'll give it a shot. So while the battery here is charging, let's just take a moment to trace some wires to put the jump pack on. So this is the flywheel side of the engine, and here's the wire harness that comes out of it. And if you take a moment, you'll see that the wire harness kind of splits, and you end up with 2 sets of wires. This set, the set I'm moving, you kind of see the 3 yellow ones. They go off to the voltage regulator, and then off the voltage regulator they go and charge the battery. So that means these 3 wires, right? And the very first one on the other side, maybe I could zoom into it. See the blue one all the way on the bottom? Right there. That goes to the pulse generator. You got the nice green guy as ground. And the yellow one, I think, I don't know, I haven't looked at the stator on this thing. I think the yellow one goes to the coil that would power one of the CDI units. The ignition system on these guys is pretty complicated. So normally what I like to do, if the ignition system cannot be saved in one piece in its OEM condition, if one of the CDI units is bad, this thing has two of them. One of them kind of does a bunch of logical things, which, you know, are you in neutral? Are you using the Kickstarter? You know what I mean? Stuff like that, to allow it to spark and start. So generally speaking, if I have trouble with the ignition system, I have a tendency to just go with one CDI, go with a 12-volt CDI, run it off the battery, and to be done with it. But that's me. Anyway, I think we're charged up enough to get something out of the battery, so out of the compression test. So let's give it a shot. Okay, here it is. Let's see how she does. Not liking that very much. I might be getting stung because the carburetor is still on here. Let me get some proper breathing, get that air filter open and so forth. I'm kind of doing this deliberately, step by step, so that you guys can see some of the mistakes, and that way you don't have to make them yourself. Well, it's not pretty. But I did get the carburetor loose so I could do a proper compression test. You guys remember that? It's a little ugly. I'm going to have to soak that up with a rag. But anyway, let's compression test it now that it can breathe properly. So we're looking at 120, slightly over 120 psi. So this engine appears to be okay. I'm going to put that carburetor back on. We'll rig up the portable CDI box and we'll see if we can't get this puppy to start up. So I want to start this thing up on the OEM carburetor. And the gas smelled pretty good. So what I did is, if you open this little drain here, and you see the hose. So I drained a bunch of the stale fuel. I'm going to use the word stale fuel to describe what was rotting in the carburetor. And now I'm going to trickle some fuel in here. I'm using that chainsaw mix, the pre-mixed stuff from Home Depot. So this is not difficult. Just trickle some gas into the hose. And yep, appears to be full. Next up, I'm going to want to put the portable CDI box on here. So once again, this is the stator side. Wires come out and I followed them right to here. So these three yellows from this guy, interesting, it's all full of oil. Anyway, these three yellows, their power coming off the engine going to the voltage regulator. I wanted to disconnect that just in case there's a short circuit further down the line. I don't want to burn up the stator. I mentioned before there's the blue and the green and the yellow, so this is where I'm going to hook up the portable CDI box. I had troubles with my other portable CDI box, so why don't we troubleshoot that in another video. Anyway, so this is the older version, and once again, red wire to the blue black wire to the green, the other black wire to ground. The black wires are ground, so obviously you need to ground off the pulse generator, and you want to ground the engine block for the CDI. Anyway, it's all hooked up. I'm going to put this up on the stand. Let's see if this puppy starts. So, CDI box on. I am going to give it a little hoot of starting fluid, because this thing has never, I've not started it, and he hasn't started it in quite a while. So on, let's see, some chokes on. It did until a second ago, anyway. So, that's good news. Carburetor seems that it might be okay, especially if I flush some of that gas stuff through it. That's good. So where are we with this thing? When I rolled it up here, the rear axle, and I don't know if you can hear it. It was doing a snap, crackle, and pop imitation. No, I don't see any oil leaked out of here. And I gotta tell you, I'm going back and forth between replacing the gears and using this housing, or buying a used one. That way I get a new, or get a second used housing. The price is about twice as much for a second one that's supposedly good. I don't know. I'm really not quite sure. I had hopes of buying the entire rear axle, you know, hub to hub, much like this guy, right? But nobody seems to be selling them like that, and probably because the posts would be your right arm and left leg. So it appears as if, once again, I buy just the pumpkin here, or I buy the pumpkin and the guts, or I buy the pumpkin with the guts in it, or I buy the guts. There are people who are selling the outer cases, but that always makes me nervous too. See, I don't know what the geometries are like in here. When I looked at the kits to rebuild these guys, there weren't shims in there or anything. There wasn't, you know, washers that you torque down on, and then you match the gears so that you could see they're meshing in the right places and so forth. I did not see that. But on the other hand, if I buy a used one, I'm kind of buying somebody else's stuff. And somebody else's stuff might be gold, or somebody else's stuff might be manure before it turns into fertilizer and be as bad, if not worse, than I already have. So I gotta put just a few thoughts in on this. But in the meantime, for $550 at this point, it seems to be up on all four tires. The engine starts. I'm sure if I pop it into gear, it'll move, right? I could probably drive it around on the lawn. And as a matter of fact, we might even go through the trouble of doing that to make sure the transmission isn't blown up on the engine. So let me know what you guys think. You know, I could also really Rube Goldberg it too, and just pull that shaft out of the engine, right? Get rid of the back drive entirely, just have a front wheel drive ATV. Musty One did that with a Toyota pickup truck that he was having a little trouble getting a rear axle for. He set it up in the beginning to drive only on the front wheel drive, and then as time passed, he managed to track down the proper axle and put the whole thing together. Anyway, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember to keep your feet down, your heads up. And by the way, I am open to suggestions. If somebody's replaced the pumpkin and had trouble, I'd like to hear what kind of troubles you've had, because I've not done that yet. If somebody's replaced the gear set and had a bunch of troubles, I would like to hear about that also, specifically for the Honda. But if you've had troubles with a Kawasaki or something, right, a Bayou, I would be interested to hear what they were, because sometimes these things overlap. Not always, but sometimes. Anyway, once again, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.